once again. Honestly, they were managing those mid-game fights just fine until that huge pick that Wayward and Knight were able to find, aggressing into enemy red buff.
Yeah, I don't hate the Lucian. I think Hope did fairly well, given that he was so far behind as well. He obviously knows the big power spike for this champion, so excited to see what he can do that one on that again. I will say though, like you said, Top Esports now going to have to try and pivot their draft. They won't have the early kill pressure with the Draven like they did in game number 1, and they're going to have to try and find another solution to that now in game number 2.
And they always could look towards, you know, whichever one of these AD carries are hovering, Sivir or the Zeri, because Lulu's still open, right? And it's one of those things, it's very similar when you're playing against Lucian Nami and you have, like, Zeri plus Lulu. You do have the potential to mitigate a lot of that burst with the shielding, and then especially the Whimsies that are able to come through from the Lulu. So it looks like that is going to be the pivot from TES this time around. Ahri still being open makes me think that JDG might still just go back to that. That was banned out every game in their series against LNG. It was Yagao's most played pick in the regular season.
Most played, most, I would say definitely most comfortable as we come into this one here. But JDG now looking to try and, I was going to say punish the fact that the Renekton was left open. So they're going to give that over to 369, a powerful pick that he's been known to use so often. And again, something we talked about a little bit earlier that has just crept itself back up into the meta.
And it seems like TS's read of this series isn't like, okay, we need to take away what our opinion is of the highest priority jungler. It's like, hey, get Wayward on something where he is stable, where he can function up in the top side and not get too punished, and get bottom lane set up for success. Ultimately, at the end of the day, right, whether it ends up being a Trundle or a Wukong or so on and so forth, it's like you're still going to be setting up for the team and how the team plays. And also, I'd say pretty good read into JDG, because since JDG do have those obscure jungle picks that they're willing to pull out, blinding your laners when JDG have already shown their hand is a pretty good course of action.
Pretty good course of action. You will have the super tank now this time around on Top Esports' side. So we're going to have a bit of a swap in terms of the role priority here between the top laners of 369 and Wayward. Now Top Esports, they got to try and figure out where they want to train the rest of these drafts. With the Wukong, the Trundle, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised to see the Poppy banned away here. And then that's just kind of really whittling down that jungle pool to the likes of maybe Xin Zhao. Might even see at least Sin, to be perfectly honest, with how many things have been taken off the board.
Now I wonder if STS, because Poppy really only being that standout jungle left, if you just pivot to a mid lane ban, you could ban out the Ahri that we highlighted as something you want to get rid of, instead going for the Lissandra, and you can leave that open, or JDG now being the ones threatened to be able to take it away. Because one thing we know for sure in drafts right now is that TS are just going to win the scaling battle. Like, if this game goes late, it doesn't even feel like the last two picks matter. Having Ornn, Zeri, Lulu against Renekton, Lucian, Nami on the opposing side are just set up so well.
Something we haven't even really seen right now has been that Sejuani that we've been, kind of talking about so much, and with the Renekton in there as well.
LNG are gone, Sheen. LNG are gone.
Yeah, true. LNG are gone. But I will say, with the Renekton, the Sejuani kind of combination with that permafrost being able to stack up so quickly definitely feels a little bit more promising for the side of JDG. But with the Ahri picked in here, makes a lot of sense here for Top Esports. I will say the Viego ban is very interesting to me. They're kind of almost saying to the side of Top Esports, look, go for the Poppy. We don't really care. We're going to go for something maybe even slightly different.
And it makes me curious, right? Because if they're going to last, I feel like JDG might be threatened or forced to pick Poppy here, just for the fact that, right, Kanavi has brought out some interesting counter picks into the champion. We saw the Morgana that, did show up in LCK in their last series. But no, they're just going to blind it. I'll be honest, we haven't seen this champion in a while up until JDG picked it up the other day. And again, barring the LCK, so not quite sure what matchups you could heavily take in this to punish the pick, but still, I would imagine that Top Esports should have an answer.
I mean, they know this was coming. This is something that JDG brought up against LNG when the Poppy was picked, and this is probably why we're seeing JDG say, "Look, we're not gonna ban the Poppy. We have answers to it. We have ways of dealing with it." But there's a Nocturne coming out, so it's gonna be Nocturne jungle here for Tian. So a little bit of global pressure, does have a fairly decent clear and good skirmishing power as well in those first few levels.
And not as worried about things like that Black Shield coming out, which really can just hinder the Poppy with the amount of CC she brings to the table. That's why I expected JDG to just be the team to be like, all right, screw it. We'll pick up the Poppy ourselves because we don't just want to blind something like a Morgana. But they do it. Top Esports now having honestly, having a lot of pick potential between the Ahri and the Nocturne, as well as, like we said, having really solid late game team fighting with the Ornn, huge front line, the ornaments that'll come through. They have the DPS and the Zeri. To where JDG, in my mind, are playing much more of this like early mid game kind of pick skirmish composition. They want to go for those fights once they hit that level 6 mark, play really heavily off of one item power spikes. Renekton, Lucian, Nami, all of these champions do really well. And if it goes late, I mean, their big hope is going to be champions like the Taliyah, like the Morgana, able to get work done.
This is going to be very curious now. You've got a very good scaling farming jungler on the side of JDG, but for top esports, you've got some pretty decent dive buddies, some good team fights if you can get that Ornn across a couple of members, and then just go in with the paranoia. It's all going to be about pick. It's all going to be about kind of finding someone out on the backside, maybe try and catch out Hope like they did in game number 1 for top esports. And for JDG, if they can get this Renekton going, it can become abhorrent to deal with. Such a difficult champion to really contain when you get into those later mid-game stages of the game, especially when it gets ahead.
And we're going to see what they're able to do with it, right? I mean, Morgana, Renekton, you have CCU set up there, but feels like they would have to try and find some opportunities decently early on if they did want to put any attention up towards 369, because they are going up against the Ornn.
Going up against the Ornn. Both these teams now looking to try and just keep their... forget about game 1 of your JDG. It's a little bit bittersweet. You've brought it back exceptionally well, but of course you did let it slip. And for top esports, it's about maintaining an advantage. It's about maintaining pressure onto the side of JDG. And I like that JDG went for a little bit of a level 1 right now, because they recognize they were in a position where they could maybe catch someone out lacking.
Also just wanting to set your bot lane up for success after, the struggles that they had in the previous game. I will say it's a bit better, considering that they aren't going up against a Draven Nautilus. That was a kill lane. That was a lane that just had that engage prowess to be able to find the pick and burst you down. This time around, it would take errors from JDG to be able for that 2v2 to go through. Like, if Hope and Missing overcommit to a fight, the Lulu shield comes out, an amazing polymorph is able to get onto the table. Could be lights out for JDG, but again, that would be them putting themselves in that position.
Now you can see the TES. They recognized that ward was spotted there. They did actually see it right as the last tick of the Scryers was being used, but they've put themselves now into a little bit of a brush combat, supportal combat for the power of the top of the hill that is that middle brush. But 369 now kind of saying, look, hey buddy, I'm sorry, I'm a Renekton, so you're going to have to walk away from this wave. You're not really going to have the same level of impact as you want as your level 1, and that's just going to basically be how this lane goes for, honestly, until we get to team fights.
And having the conquer, right? So going for these long exchange, trades is something he feels comfortable with, knowing he has to force Wayward out. Wayward, of course, Ornn, Grasp, one to utilize things like the brittle damage. Definitely a lot more about those short first year trades in laning phase. But like you said, his job isn't lane. His job is to just survive, do his best, and then show up huge in those moments, hopefully catching people like Yagao and Hope out later on. We can see right now it's all about the bot lane. JackeyLove and Mark putting up the same level of punishment so far. It isn't until we start getting these levels under our belts where Hope and Missing can look to contend. And I'm wondering if Kanavi is actually going to look for something. But with that ward, doesn't seem like it'll be possible.
Really good ward there from JackeyLove just to make sure it's there. But Missing does have the sweeper, so he's going to try and just clear this one out as soon as he possibly can. Remember, it's a level 3 Kanavi on the Morgana. Black Shield and the Dark Binding available. Even has the Tormented Soil as he tries to sneak his way around. He's taking an awful lot of time here, Lyric, but he is going to be able to make it work. No!
Oh,
that was the biggest miss I've ever seen in my life. Oh, we hyped it up, and sadly, Kanavi, he couldn't deal with the pressure.
And he's wasted so much time on this bot side. Tian's already finished up 4 of his camps, about to be done with his 5th. Kanavi still has his whole top side left open, is going to have to go for the reset right now and just make his way towards his top side. Doesn't have blue buff either, so wanting that mana, wanting to go up to where he is prio, clear his top side camps, try to get his hands on that top side scuttle, and come out pretty even. You can see elsewhere, things going a bit as expected. Knight able to keep up this pressure early game in this matchup. We've hit on before about a lot of the Taliyah changes kind of pushing her more into strength in the late game, but ooh, Knight actually might get punished right now. He's playing pretty respectfully, though.
Yeah, I think he feels like something's up right now. The Renekton not being shown on vision, but Knight does land the charm here onto Yagao, and they're going to have Tian there to try and keep him away. He's hiding off to the side of vision.
369!
369 flashes in, slices back to try and make sure that Yagao doesn't die. To has to use his cleanse. They are going to get the stun down onto Tian, and it takes a bit of damage for his troubles. But already we're seeing now both these teams trying to find creative ways of making something work. And speaking of being creative, Wayward now might be in a little bit of trouble. He does buffer the Dark Binding very nicely, though, with the Searing Charge. And that means that we're seeing action, but no real results just yet. But I'm loving what we're seeing from both sides.
I'm just surprised 369 was willing to commit so much. It was a flash for a flash, clearly wanting to use the agency he has on that top side to be able to make something happen for his team, and it wasn't the end of the world considering Kanavi was up there to catch the wave. But, I mean, now giving Wayward a bit of freedom in terms of just being able to get that push in and now getting a good reset for himself.
Good reset. Like what Missing tried to hold the wave there for hope, but should only lose about a minion or so. Not really too detrimental to the Lucian Nami bot side. And again, we talked about it a little bit there. Both sides looking to try and be creative, looking to try and, have answers to kind of say, okay, well, if we play standard, they're going to know what we're going to do. So we have to try and, book the trend, be a little bit more different, try and see if we can catch them out. And both sides have honestly been doing it. It does feel like JDG definitely the ones trying to force it a bit more, but with the fact that you have Tian kind of hovering down and obviously, JackeyLove kind of making sure they have the vision, little answers are coming out here to make sure that they know what's going on.
And we highlighted earlier on as well that it feels like JDG are the ones who have to get this going to be able to find that advantage with the fact of, I mean, you're going to be relying a lot on this Taliyah as we go later. Feels like JackeyLove having the Lulu right next to him and then having the Ornn on top as well. It does just give them a little bit more security as it does progress. JDG's damage all indexed into the bursts that they're able to put through. So TS, I think a little bit fine, more okay with this game going at a slower pace. And at the end of the day, right, the first big spike for this composition will be once Tian has that level 6 mark, you have the paranoia, you can start looking for those ganks, and they're just so much more accessible.
Well, Kanavi again, seeing if he can go for anything there. Ooh, good flash from Mark. I couldn't even see the Dark Binding. That's how quick it was coming at him right there. So needs to be very careful with that kind of a setup. And this is the power you get with something like a Morgana, because yes, you did take an awful lot of time to clear your camps, but look at him. He's only about a camp and a half behind, but Dominus does get popped here. Wayward, he's taking a little bit of damage, but he doesn't really notice it right now because he's not really looking towards that. There is no flash, remember, onto 369, who just waits to try and get himself on top of Wayward, who flashes away. They're still ticking down the Taliyah. Weaver's wall stops any kind of an exit, and JDG going back to what's tried and true and getting topside ahead.
Right as the flash came out as well. Sadly for Wayward, didn't matter. He goes down. TS, though, gonna answer back on the bottom half of the map with this dragon. You can see with Knight hovering down. JDG really have no way of contesting. Kanavi's clearing his topside camps as well. So JDG at least finding their first initial pick, but Top Esports keeping it tried and true to their regular season performance. I think we were trying to hit on this in the last game, then a fight broke out, but one thing I really liked about TS, to where most teams just outright prioritize early Herald more, TS are one of the teams that actually prio early Dragon higher, and I feel like it's pretty good for them as Bubble connects.
That's a good bubble there. Cleanse comes out from JackeyLove to get rid of, I'm actually not sure what it got rid of there. Maybe just the polymorph as such, but yeah, just kind of using it off cooldown to make sure he can get a TES, though.
Tian has paranoia now.
I was going to say, he has got paranoia. He's going to try and take away the red buff right now. Should be able to take that one there, which does help him quite a lot. Gives him the extra bit of regeneration and, of course, the slow and extra damage on his auto attacks. But it looks like it's not going to be a dive on that bot side. Again, very risky to do that onto something like a Lucian Nami when they do have heal and flashes available.
Oh, they're trying to force this.
They're trying to force it. JackeyLove doesn't have a lot of mana, though. Does pop his ultimate alongside the Ultra Shock Laser to maybe scare them into a full-on engage. But JDG, they had the vision. They knew that there was something up, and they don't go for the bait.
At least wasting, or utilizing the Zeri rather than, full committing with the Paranoia, right? Because Paranoia definitely feeling a lot more... You need to make use of the ultimate once it's popped, find that kill, or it's a lot of time where it is much harder for Nocturne to be able to find that free access to start being able to get those kills on the board. But I guess we move past that for now because we're at the 8-minute mark, Sheen. Herald's up. Both bot lanes are heading over. JDG have numbers advantage on top side for now with their bot lane coming up because Top Esports actually committed Wayward to start walking down to the bottom half of the map.
Yeah, he's going to start walking back up now towards this Rift Herald. He's going to be very late, though. Remember, though, he is an Ornn, so he's going to have that Ornn horn from a distance. They just need to try and delay it for a little bit longer if they can, but it's not going to be enough. Kanavi's got a decent smite, and good trade back here for JDG as they kind of recognize they just had a numbers advantage.
all comes down to the fact that JDG, right, keeping 369 up towards the top lane. They're going to have 369 walk all the way down right now. Also going to relieve a bit of pressure from Yagao in mid lane, because look at the CS advantage. Knight has done a good job of just being ahead, even ignoring the Weaver's wall that Yagao made towards the top side. Knight had already started to find those small advantages in terms of that CS lead. We can see JackeyLove as well. Looks like almost about a full wave up, right? Looked like about 5 CS, so Top Esports doing a nice job. JDG's lead pretty much only coming off of that top side with 369 and the earlier kill that they were able to pick up for him.
Yeah, it's basically the first blood, and that's about it. Kanavi is going to be able to try and hover up towards the top side. They really would love to get that gold here onto Hope and just get him towards his Gale Force as quick as possible, but Tian is very aware that something might be going down towards that top side, so he's just hovering with the paranoia. It is a very limited range at level 1, so you are going to have to basically be from the brush here to the mid or to the top lane, but outside of that, definitely something that will grow a little bit more exponentially as the game goes on. And right now you can see they're just kind of clearing waves, making sure they're not getting dove, making sure they're not getting any kind of too comfortable with the side, the fact that they have got Kanavi here on the top side.
JDG just wanting to keep jungle up top side, knowing they're trying to get this push in, making sure they're there if Tian does look to make a play with that paranoia. I'm curious to see where they use the Rift Herald. I would expect you probably want to put that gold onto Hope and start getting him onto that Gale Force to be able to play out the strong mid game that we set up for them. But even if you did escalate your Taliyah, that isn't all too bad. Yagao does have Weaver's wall up right now as well. So for JDG, we expect to start seeing them make plays on sides once again. Wayward's starting to get pretty tanky. You know, has the Bomby Cinder and the Cloth Armor in pocket. So for JDG, might have to be around Hope and missing.
I like that what we saw there from Hope and Missing as well. They just waited until the bot lane of Top Esports went back to reset. They went, cool, you're no longer here. We can just kind of push in this way. They're going to get probably 2 plates from this, to be perfectly honest. There is absolutely zero answer from Top Esports. They may be even to get a third if they're really feeling it. But imagine they want to try and reset fairly soon to try and get out before this dragon. That's probably why they stayed as well. These 2 plates are probably going to equal enough gold for Hope to pick up his Gale Force. And that's going to be a huge power spike just before this dragon fight.
They're going to be getting here a little bit late in terms of Top Esports will have full control bot side, and they're fishing for a pick.
Oh, Kanavi had the black shield just to make sure. 369 still sitting underneath the tower. Gale Force has been finished, as we are going to see now. The paranoia comes out. They're going to double ulti on top of them. The fear comes out, and Kanavi without a black shield. Definitely not as daunting a target, and that's going to be the first kill of the game for Top Esports.
And surprisingly enough, right, JDG commit their bot side to top, which gets them those extra plates, but that also leaves this opening for Top Esports to get full control over the bottom half of the map. They had push in bot, they had push in mid. They're able to go for that invade and pick up that pick as 369 follows through.
They flash for flash, but Wayward hasn't been able to kind of do anything here. It's a Blade the Ruin King here for 369, but the Searing Charge is enough to kind of separate them out now. I will say that it was kind of a movement here from JDG because they recognize they're just giving up the dragon. They don't really have a way of contesting this, so they have to try and find something. It will be a couple more plates in that top side as 369 continues to grow his lead.
And now they could just start having Yagao hover towards top side as well. Kanavi is pathing up there as we speak. We hit up about the Weaver's wall. Now with Blade of the Rune King on 369 and this turret only being 1 plate left, I think it makes a lot of sense for JDG to start committing resources up here. Heck, even their whole vision line is here from before, since they never got a chance to even try to fight and contest bot side river.
Yeah, they never really had an opportunity for it. We will see Q's, the Dustbringer, and of course the Dark Binding coming out for both the junglers there as they try to contest onto this camp right now. Again, I always favor the ranged carries of a Morgana over a Nocturne in these particular situations. But the tower goes down. Top Esports just in position to make sure nobody goes any further than just the first tower. And it is going to be about a 1,500 gold lead now for JDG as they start to really put the pressure onto this top side. They really need 369 to be as big and as powerful as he can be because they're already 2 dragons down.
That's what I was going to say for Top Esports. I'm not feeling too bad in this position. You're not too far behind in gold. You have set yourself up for 2 dragons at like the 12-minute mark, I believe, was when they picked the last one up about a minute ago. So they're in a pretty solid spot. The one thing, though, is JDG having Mythics already come out, right? Gale Force on Hope, Liandry's for Kanavi. 369 wanted to go for strength in that 1v1, so did go straight to the Blade of the Rune King. But if any skirmishes did break out right now, JDG should still be feeling incredibly strong. And you can see Kanavi making his way down towards the spot side to potentially match this pressure from Tian.
Oh, JackeyLove, he takes about half his HP. They're going to use the Paranoia just to try and disengage. There's a Weaver's Wall as Mark flashes away from a bubble. We are going to have the Paranoia finally committed on as Yagao has to cleanse. Hope finds the kill, and that's JackeyLove falling down, but here comes the Wayward's ultimate. He's trying to separate out the side of JDG, and it's a 1-for-1 at the end of it all. While this has all been happening, though, 369 is going to be able to get the top tier 2, and that's going to be huge.
At least Knight having TP is going to be able to get up there in time. Yagao is really low, so JDG have to be a little bit careful. That fight was so close in like so many different areas of Sheen. Like different opportunities for JDG to find that pick onto JackeyLove faster. Knight being able to get involved, find the charm. I'm excited to see this replay, and even what vision JDG have, because it looks like JDG have no vision in River, which is why after this burst onto JackeyLove comes through and Paranoia is popped, Yagao doesn't go with this Weaver Wall more aggressively into the river, opens up for them to turn onto Yagao and get the damage down, but that binding from Kanavi was so huge. Hope held onto the Gale Force, that pick goes across, but with the Spirit Rush available and the Ornn Horn kind of blocking off the exit path of some of these members, sets up for Knight to be able to find a return kill.
Yeah, really well done there by Top Esports, because remember, they're the ones that are falling behind right now. I will say the extra stats of a Hex Dragon and an Infernal Dragon, probably the two best solo dragons you can get as a before the soul really kind of reveals itself, coming out here for Top Esports. It will mitigate some of those disadvantages a little bit, but you still have to be very, very wary. You're coming up to two massive item spikes here now for JDG. 369 almost getting up to his Frostfire Gauntlet, and of course Hope almost having himself the Rapid Fire Cannon means that you're going to be in a much more difficult position to try and contest the next 1 or 2 Drakes.
For TS, though, if they can do what they did before, which is kind of overloading the fight or one side of the map before JDG are able to commit there, I mean, that is one way to be able to out-leverage the small gold lead, or like the small item advantages that JDG have found, because JDG have really been keeping 369 to the split push roll so far. A lot of that was off the fact that he had just TP'd up the top side when that last fight had broken up around bot. And for JDG now looking to get 369 more involved. But for TS, you have the Paranoia back up. Knight has been one of the ones able to consistently find picks with that RA ultimate. And if Yagao goes even a little bit too far forward, I think it can just open up a very easy pathway for TS to pick up yet another kill and then potentially a turret.
Yeah, I think Knight's definitely feeling a little bit more comfortable in terms of his playmaking abilities on this Ahri comparatively to the Lissandra we saw in the last game. And now, I will say though, it's 50 CS lead in that top side. It is Wayward having to just kind of play the perpetual weak side. He's already 2 levels down, and like you mentioned, not even really close to a mythic. He's got a couple of half items as he tries to just make up the difference. But you do have the Stride Breaker here for Tian, so if he's able to jump onto Hope, he will be able to just stick on him forever. The cleanse will have to be used there for what is effectively a soft CC, but can feel like a hard one sometimes when you're in those fights.
Oh, it definitely could. But now, speaking of fights, I mean, JDG wanting to force their way down mid. Top Esports will be able to trade back in bot side. You can see the dichotomy already. Top Esports trying to set up for a play with the Paranoia, but JDG having a Herald are just going to brute force their way through the mid lane. Dragons come up, so they can look to start making their way down there. And for Top Esports, looks like they have to play 2 different sides of the fight, with Knight and Tian towards that bot side, and the other 3 members having to try to make their way through mid.
Oh, I love what JDG are doing. They're saying, look, you think we're going for the dragon. You think we're going to go for this button. But I don't think JDG realized there was a scuttle vision on that pick, so they're not quite able to get that full setup going for themselves. And unfortunately for them, they will have to just reside themselves to taking their one prize, which is going to be that dragon. But like you said, Top Esports not exactly unhappy with this trade. They have 2 in the bank. Ocean Soul not as prevalent or as powerful as maybe it was kind of perceived to be, previous to the dragon buffs. So definitely not too bad for Top Esports, as they're honestly just waiting for a couple more items for JackeyLove, get them scaling into that late game.
You know, I want to say I'm really surprised at the lack of all-out aggression.
I know, like, compared to Game 1.
Yeah, this game has been. Because, I mean, both of these teams have trended to be more of our aggressive teams in the LPL and really just brute forcing their way home. I will say for JDG, their comp, I think, is a little bit more fragile, considering that, I mean, their only frontline is 369, and knowing that did go with the Frostfire Gauntlet route, but champions like the Morgana, like the Taliyah, it's a lot about the setup, it's a lot about being able to hit these skill shots, and they have to be a little bit more tempered with it. For TS, we already set up, kind of wanting to wait on Zeri to pick up some of these items, and then if you can get a position where Ornn is upgrading everyone, I mean, that's going to be the point where TS do just take over. So I could understand at this game for both teams and the compositions in terms of how they can play out the map, but at least team identities-wise, doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't really. But look, we always talk about teams kind of being the best in their class of a particular style, but now we know that both these teams can play a slightly bit different, way of playing the game, a different way of seeing if they can win or, kind of get their advantages in a much more calm and collected LCK vibe, if you will, playing towards the percentages. You don't need to be fighting over blue buff. You don't need to be fighting over this random piece of vision. You just need to fight over the big objectives.
Hey, we have teams like that as well. Look
do.
at RA last year.
I was gonna say, but they're not in playoffs. So it doesn't really match as well as we see 369 trying to run down Wayward right now and using the slice and dice there through the minions. You can see the rest of JDG. They heard us talking smack lyric and they said, all right, you want us to fight over absolutely nothing? We're gonna fight over absolutely nothing.
JDG committing everyone up to the top side. And you can see TS have been playing out the same formation for the last few minutes of just trying to combo Tian around Knight, since Knight can have the gap close and kind of unexpectedly set up with the charm for the Paranoia to be able to follow through. Looks like it might just net them a bot lane turret, but JDG out of nowhere start up a Baron.
On spawn, 20 minutes. They are going for this pick right now. I will say, with the Weaver's Wall, they can delay this, but I don't take it exceptionally quickly. TPs are going to be going. Wayward's back in a couple of seconds. This is risky. This could be game-changing, depending on which one they go for. It's a smite secured, and they're able to take out the Nocturne as well. The damage comes in as the flash comes out from the side of Mark to make sure he doesn't get hit. Now Wayward trying to see if they can turn this fight. Yes, you got the Baron, but how many people are getting out with it? That is the next question. They're trying to see if they can catch 369, who slices to see if he can maybe get some damage down, but it's not really going to be enough. It's daylight robbery. JDG just knew this game was going a little bit too slowly, and they get themselves a Baron.
The massive gamble from JDG, it was so questionable. The Weaver's Wall even felt like a little bit early, but plays like that, I just love. Go for the big risk, see what happens, flip it. JDG do, and they're able to come out ahead in the end. We'll see what happens, especially in regards to smites. And heck, looks like Tian, I don't know if you even got a chance to get his smite off onto the Baron, or if that came out like afterwards, right before he died, onto one of the members of JDG. Kanavi definitely able to secure it. And we see here, though, once Wayward gets involved, really good ultimate, and then with the double knockup, kind of leaving 369 in this awkward position, allows for the kills to be able to come through.
That's the kind of ignition we were waiting for right now. This puts a little bit of a fire now underneath JDG and says, all right, cool. Not only do you have a stronger mid-game, you now have the strongest mid-game buff you can possibly have at the exact moment it was available. This wasn't a Baron dance. This was just a Baron steal straight up and out. So right now, JDG 5,000 gold ahead, or just a little bit under it, and they're going to try and kind of accelerate that lead, because again, there's not many engage options for top esports. They've got the Paranoia, but the Nocturne won't last very long, as we saw in that last fight.
Look, Machine, JDG are really good at either throwing or at least making us think they're going to throw for a long time. If they were an American football player, they'd be exactly. Some of the best throws,
the
best throws
craziest
in the
thing
league.
is, I knew exactly where you were going with that analogy as soon as you said they're great at throwing.
It's because we were talking about American football early, but
true.
We need to calm down. 'Cause now both teams are in front of each other. Sheen, you know what happens? Call the Forge God.
Call the Forge God, but a good dash away by Hope means that the charm from Knight does not land. Now the Weaver's Wall just stops any kind of exit. Wayward gets himself wild growth in, but 369 is already too damn big. You don't really have any kind of engage now after this, so top esports are left between a rock and a hard place, and the rocks are being flung at their head by Yagao.
And they're not going to be able to contest this dragon, which you assume JDG will pivot around. 369 finds Tian, and actually everyone.
I was going to say, I don't think he just finds Tian. I think he finds absolutely everybody. No Dominus, no way of keeping him alive, but because you have the Baron push, it means you get those minions to just stay up a little bit longer, and that gives you a tier 2. So you trade off 369, you get yourself a tier 2. I don't think it's that bad of a trade.
I mean, 1 for 1, and in the end, JDG are going to pick up 2 objectives, right? They're going to pick up a turret and a dragon. So, at the end of the day, I take back what I said about being a quarterback, because for JDG, I mean, definitely able to keep pushing this advantage forward, right? We've already seen they have great pick tools. And heck, going off this fight, this was all set up by TS, wanting to force onto Hope. They were able to force this flash out, but still giving enough time for 369 to push down a turret. Wayward chunked incredibly low because they were fighting in JDG's territory. And then the rest of TS having to just flee because they've committed so many ultimates to that first part of the exchange. We'll see how 369 goes down here, though. I don't really think there's much to see. Walks into a brush. Yep. All members of TS show up.
Yeah, we're going to see now on the live feed in the bottom left, which has now gone into a nice transition of the full screen. Top tower tier 1 was taken by Top Esports, and then we got bot lane in response. So actually it ends up being, I know you said 2 objectives for the side of and 1 kill apiece, but it was actually 3 objectives because like you mentioned, 369 did get that tier 2 in the top side. So Wayward really not having a fun time. 60 CS down, 0-3, and he's an item and a bit versus the 3 items of the Renekton right now. This is what we were talking about, why the Renekton has been coming back into the meta right now, because it feels like when you're able to get those mid-game advantages, they're just amplified so extraordinarily large that it just makes it feel like you can't do anything.
I think even more so for teams like this who typically are willing to just fight so much more at these like 1 and 2 item power spikes that do come through. I will say silver lining for Wayward, now level 13, so those upgrades are going to start coming out across the board. And luckily for, missing.
Good flash there. They're going to try and jump completely onto Kanavi, though. You got to be very careful. There's the ultimate there from Wayward. They're going to have Kanavi go into stasis. Knight taking a hell of a lot of damage, but the Ultra Shock Laser cosplaying as
coming
it
around,
looks.
Machine.
They are going to have 369 on the flank. The Dominus has been popped. Remember, there's all 5 members here. They're going to find him out. They're going to try and jump straight on top of him. He hasn't got a great amount of CC to deal with all 4 members, so he's going to get taken out here unless they can keep on top of him. They're going to have Wayward flashing forward alongside JackeyLove, but they just can't take down the Crocodile. The flick back is good, but look at Hope. Hope is turning this one right back in the favor of JDG. They take out the Taliyah, so it's still a 2-for-1 in favor of Top Esports, but Hope is massive.
Both teams kind of feeling out the fight and what they're able to do. 369 overcommitting just a little bit too much, was still able to get out of there, but still Hope kind of weaving in and out. JackeyLove doing the same. Both AD carries trying their best now that we're getting to the point. I mean, heck, Hope is on the 3-item mark. JackeyLove incredibly close, and it all starts off with Top Esports wanting to set up the pick once again. We hit on it. Once Snipe pops the ultimate, it sets up so easily for Tian to be able to follow up with the paranoia. They do have a lot of tools to zone them off, like the tidal wave able to come through, but amazing timing for the W right when he comes out of stasis. And then 369, I get what he's trying to do. He's huge, but a little bit on his own. Sets up for TS to go for the turn and try and burst him out. Gets a ton of flashes from the members of TS to be able to follow up on the kill. But with JackeyLove committing like that, Hope is going to be able to take him out, but hey, at least JackeyLove was able to get one before he went down.
I mean, that's kind of the big deal right now. That one before JackeyLove dies does get him. Basically, he's 300 gold off, basically. A little bit under it. So maybe, anyway, right now, he should be able to clear that one out, maybe even one more, and get himself up there. But look at the gold right now. It's all on Hope and 369, but Mark. Not really what you've been doing. I always bring it back to this because it's always relevant. You gotta have the buddy system, man. You gotta have someone with you to hold your hand, because if a car comes across that road and you're not looking, they're gonna be able to drag you back.
Paranoia's up once again. Knight also able to join in.
They're going to try and jump in on top of this one here. They're going to be stolen! Getting in on top of it, and they will trade his life gladly. You give 2 kills, you get a Baron. Top Esports, and Tian showing why he's the regular season MVP.
I mean, when you're going into Baron flips like that, where in that moment machine, 4 players had smite. Both junglers, both mid laners had smites on the board. But at the end of the day, TS are the ones who are able to guarantee it, and I love it. We're going to go instantly into the replay to see how this one unfolds. Knight gonna be the one to jump in. Tian instantly follows up. And I mean, both committing their smites to being able to get it. Looks like Yagao not even having the chance to use his, making sure that Top Esports pick it up in the end.
I mean, the smites literally mean that you're looking at about 2,800 damage, or even more, actually. About, like, it's so exceptionally high. It's actually 3,600 damage of just pure true damage going down straight away. So, love the call from Top Esports to recognize, hey, this Baron is literally at 3,000 health. If they smite it or we smite it, we can get this going for ourselves. So, very, very nicely done there. But it's not over just yet, Lyric. We are going to have another fight very, very soon, because we got ourselves a dragon to call. It is going to be either soul point for JDG or for Top Esports, and I think if you're Top Esports, I don't know if you really want to try and fully fight for this, but they're posturing.
They did finally get the upgraded Mythic for JackeyLove. He's sitting on 3 items, but as well, Hope has picked up his last Whisperer, so on his way to that LDR. Does also have both summoners available, which JackeyLove does not.
Nice!
Knight!
Nice! Ooh, he's actually been caught out. Knight again this series, not really having the respect of where the rest of JDG are, and JDG punish it right there. That will say, though, they have got the push in bot side, so it looks like they're going to try and give this one up and try and just take out pressure as the Weaver's Wall comes out to make sure there's absolutely no funny business around this dragon.
I like how JDG finished pushing in mid, though, to maybe, like, confuse or make TS think, like, hey, you know what we're doing?
No! Oh, my God. Okay, he thought about it, but they didn't quite get him there. JDG able to secure that objective for themselves, and that was a little bit closer. And you can see now that Tian, not exactly the most comfortable on this pick of the Nocturne, but it is just a dragon and 2 kills, and they do get a tower on that bot side. So still getting gold, and now Hope getting jumped on here by JackeyLove. JackeyLove, though, needs to be very careful. Remember, those cooldowns of that W is still massive. As it finally does come back up, he will have or sorry, not the W, the E. So he needs to be very careful when he's going in aggressively and when he needs it for a retreat.
It is going to be rough, and we're once again kind of in a position where, I mean, for JDG, being on Soul Point is huge. It looks like Hope pretty close to being able to pick up that LDR. You can see him trying to get some of these jungle camps right now, so I assume he picked up Raptors. No, actually, Kanavi's still going to take that one for himself, even though Hope wanting to pick up that last item, especially if Wayward's going to be playing such a critical role. JackeyLove, be careful, my dude.
Yeah, be careful, my dude. You need to be so wary of where... Honestly, even just with vision, because with a TP available for 369, you go that low, he flashes in, slice and dices, there's nowhere really for you to go, so... have to be a little bit more respectful. I will say we are starting to, as you mentioned earlier, get to the super late game. Those 2 dragons from earlier paying dividends for top esports because we're now past the 30-minute mark. You've 3 items onto the Ahri, and yes, you won't do exceptional damage onto the bigger members, but on the likes of Taliyah or even onto Missing's Nami and of course Hope's Lucian should be able to do exceptionally well in these team fights. JackeyLove starting to poke people down with the Ultra Shock lasers, and 369, yes, he's 4 items, which is still a hell of a lot better than what Wayward has, but he's becoming less and less relevant as the game goes on.
That's the big thing to me, is right. JDG aren't incredibly tanky. TS actually do have a front line. They also have the wild growth able to come through if any of the members are in threat of being picked off. And TS popping the Shurelya's, but not actually following through with it. I mean, at this point in the game, right, we need to keep our eyes on JackeyLove. JackeyLove really is the one who could be the difference maker with the amount of DPS that he is able to put out. Now with 3 Ocean Drakes on the board, Mark!
There's going to be the wild growth, but now Wayward is here. He's going to get the knock-up down onto Kanavi. The TP's coming in. That's going to be Knight. And then at the end of it, 369 joining in. So Charm going to stop him from making any kind of real advancements. And both TPs have been used now on both sides. I will say, though, Wayward still has his. So you're still feeling a little bit more confident on this one outside the top esports. JDG having to respond to the fact that they might have been caught out.
Being forced back, and I mean, heck, it's just looking so rough for TS to be able to force anything. And you're not even at a point where I feel like you can rely on Zeri W's, like keep playing for a few of them, whittle them down, and then go in, because now 9% missing health being restored every 5 seconds for JDG with 3 Ocean Drakes stacked up. It is getting to a meaningful amount, especially, you know, if they're able to get that soul on top of it. So for TS, definitely hoping you can find that engage, get the all-in, burst them out. But heck, JDG have 2 Zanias. JDG have a lot of time to be able to buy in fights, to be able to get the burst out themselves, right? Because we said TS having a little bit more DPS, I think, with the Zeri in their composition, to JDG pretty much being full on burst, throwing out the culling, being able to get the seismic shove into the combo, and wanting to just instantly delete a member from TS.
Also, yes, it's an 8,000 gold lead for JDG, no one's denying, but 5,000 of that is between the Renekton and the Ornn. It is a 115 CS difference, and that might seem huge. You're absolutely right.
It is huge,
but it's not relevant.
But
it's not relevant. The thing is that the Renekton is going to be probably just as tanky as Wayward right now, and with all the mobility, with all the different cooldowns now at such a low rank coming into this fight, you're going to see top esports just having much easier time of kiting back from something like a Renekton. We talked about it earlier. You haven't got the most tankiest of teams here for JDG, whereas top esports, they finally got themselves a little bit of a front line.
Well, we've seen 369, right? Typically trying to come in on a flank or on an angle and just kind of be a huge distraction.
Here we go. We're going to see Wayward get himself a 3-man knock-up. The Taliyah wall is actually only isolating 369 from the rest of his team. The Spirit Rush is good. Yagao goes golden as JackeyLove's right on top of his face. The Dark Shield is very good to keep him alive. And now Tian getting jumped on here by Hope. But like we said, he's a little bit tankier. And this is why I was mentioning the 8,000 gold lead might not have as much relevance in this game, as everyone's trying to use their summoners right before this dragon fight. But top esports might not want the soul. Top esports might want the Baron.
I mean, Ashin, 4-3-6-9, I don't feel like you're just walking into top esports, right? In the fights they've won, it's been him coming off on an angle, him TPing in, not him setting himself up to be engaged on by all of TS's members, and allowing for, like what you're saying, and how tanky Wayward is, and just, again, other members of TS, now with the Zorn upgrades coming through, able to get that damage down. They weren't able to find it that time, but still, they're going to be the ones who are able to get sold. Top esports making the rush
Baron.
and making the call to go to Baron.
Yep, Baron right now. There is a couple of flank wards though, but no TP. 369 has not got that summoner available to him, so the Dragon Soul will go over to the JDG, but they may have thrown away their Baron. So it's a permanent buff versus a potentially, kind of short-term buff here for top esports. There's the Weaver as well to try and close the distance. The smite is good from Tian as he's going to try and put himself on the backside of the pit. Flashes over and gets himself out. Everyone is chasing. They know they need to try and get rid of some of these Baron buffs while they're low. The culling not really hitting anybody. The Ultra Shock laser just to try and delay anybody. 369 pops the dominance, but they won't find anybody, Lyric.
No, so JDG, now Ocean Soul, TS having the Baron, picking up an extra 1,500 gold from being able to get that and be able to get out scot-free. We're going to be able to see if they can grow that gold lead, because as we can see about the second, going down from what they've been able to get with the Baron is JDG picking up more gold on the map from picking up these jungle camps. But like you said, JDG at least will have, this buff to rely on for the rest of the game. TS now having a small window to make this matter. Now being on 4 items for the Zeri, though, GA picked up, so having that added safety and security to be able to make it through. Again, the burst and like a sudden rotation of spells coming out from JDG, but Hope as well. Hope now being full build on the solution.
Yeah, I mean, Hope is the hope. You got to imagine coming out for this team. He needs to be able to burst out JackeyLove. He needs to be able to try and find this significant damage.
That's a lot of burst.
It's a hell of a lot of burst on someone who's got a Bramble Vest and a Force of Nature. So right now, top esports, they opted into this trade. They wanted to get the Baron over getting themselves the Baron. Opted into getting the Baron over the Dragon, and now JDG, they're going to try and maybe make this one work. Knight does get caught out a little bit of a flash burnt by Hope immediately. They get the knock up there as 369 just can't really get into this fight, because look at him, he's just getting peppered down here by JackeyLove. Hope going to land a good binding there on the JackeyLove, who forces out his cleanse. And we're starting to see the small little hours, small little moments here. 369, he needs to be very careful. He's getting taken so low, and JackeyLove's starting to feel like he's taken over.
JackeyLove able to at least cut out the Renekton like you were talking about, but Hope was able to get the flash from Knight. Hope has been playing so aggressive, knowing it's up to him. I mean, right, it feels like we're getting to the point where it's a battle of the AD carries. So what they're able to do is JackeyLove really trying to bring his former top laner down.
Yeah, JackeyLove saying, look, you left the team, and we want to make sure that you left the wrong team right now. So we are going to see them now reset, look to try and go for this. But this is good for the side of JDG. Remember, they have the Ocean Soul. They're the ones that didn't opt for the Baron, a temporary buff, which is going to be gone in 40 seconds.
Not able to find anything off of it either. JDG posturing around mid, able to make sure that no push was able to come through. And heck, even for them, not really losing out in terms of any summoners given, to where for TS, I mean, Flash went down for Knight. I guess Hope did have to use his Flash when he aggressively went in on top of Knight, but was able to trade it 1-for-1.
The brush. They're going to be able to get a little bit of damage there on the JackeyLove, who flashes away immediately. 369 goes down as he gets polymorphed. He's going to get a black shield on top of him as they're going to try and take him out. It's very difficult to take him out. He's got so much damage. He's level 18. He's got so much health, but eventually they take him out. Now you don't have that big front line available to you. The paranoia is good, and it jumps straight down on top of the Yagao, who has to go into stasis. Nocturne goes down. Knight maybe going a little bit too far forward, but the exhaust from the spell book is good. 1-for-1 right now. It's a top laner for a jungler. There's no real jungle objective to take, so top esports are going to have to try and defend again.
And you could just see how like frustrating top esports are making this from for JDG, because we said 369 really can't just run in there the way he did from front to back. Has to try and find an angle to come in off the side and get a flank, but TS aren't allowing it, so all of it being up to kind of the range siege that's coming out from members like Yagao and Kanavi, throwing out, the Qs from Yagao, the W from Kanavi, and then Hope being the one to jump in with the Gale Force and trying to finish off these targets. Kind of the same story on the opposite side, right? Knight fishing with these charms, using the Spirit Rush to weave in and out, and JackeyLove just constantly throwing out these Ws. Getting incredibly tense, and Ashin, it feels like we're at a point where this is going to be decided by, you know, the Elder fight that's definitely going to come through. But here's what we said. 369, you're not really able to just run into the composition that Top Esports have put through. Hope tries to zone enough members off so 369 can get an engage, but JackeyLove can jump to the other opposite side of the wall. Knight's there as well, and they managed to pick him off. So critical error coming out from 369. I think just feeling over antsy to get in, as that cut dramatically short for the fact that
I got ready. I got ready.
I was ready too. Who's dead?
I was literally, I like put my hands on the table. It's just like, right, team fight mode. And I was like, never mind, release your breath.
You know, I actually have kept my hands on my desk this whole cast because I'm just constantly ready for team fight mode.
That's very fair. You know what? I respect that. You've been forged in the fires of the LPL. You are ready for team fights at all times of the day. But like you mentioned, it is going to be most likely around this Elder fight, which should be a game ender. Remember, these health bars are going very low, but not low enough to die. Elder helps with that a hell of a lot. We are now looking at a nearly full build. JackeyLove, though, as he picks up his last whisper, going up towards that Lord Dominic's regard. You can see now Mark! Oh, he flashes over the wall with the wild growth, but that's a tool no longer available to the side of Top Esports. But now with the paranoia and with the ultimate there from the Ornn, they're trying to see if they can catch out anybody else. Remember, you still have Ocean Soul here and all the regenerative properties that it brings. That's 4 Ocean Dragons, remember. So you can look at 369. He was about half HP. He's going to start regenerating like crazy. Whoa, look at that go.
And Nasheen, we're at a point where you could see for Top Esports when they should feel comfortable going for an engage, Tian not wanting to fall up the paranoia and try and jump on top of someone like Hope, because Hope is so strong right now, he can just burst him out outright like we're seeing. There's
the Weaver's Wall. Wayward has to run away as well. That's your super tank, not really relevant. The Weaver's Wall just kind of keeping everyone from Top Esports from defending their base. The Elder's just about to spawn, but JDG have got Top Esports pinned back in their base. Knight, though, on a bit of a flank. He's looking to try and see if he can catch out Hope, but Hope's not going to let him. Tian goes golden just to try and buy a little bit more time, but he goes down. You don't have a jungler now. A flash forward means the 369 does land the Call the Meek on top of JackeyLove as they try to make this one work. The tidal wave completely whiffs, but look at the Hope damage. He's doing so much in this fight. Two auto attacks on the JackeyLove are just going to be able to do it. It's between these two AD carries as they both try and prosper for it. You can see JackeyLove, he desperately wants to try and go back and heal up a little bit. Mark has to use the wild growth on himself. The Immortal Shield Bow has been procced there on the JackeyLove. They get Wayward to get the ultimate there.
Look at the
Hope.
regen!
As they're just regenning so much right now. Top Esports, they have to go back to their fountain. They need to try and defend their base because the rest of it's being taken by minions.
I just love how confidently that Hope is playing right now, pretty much single-handedly chunking these members out.
Here we
go.
Oh,
he's going for Mark.
Never mind, they're not going to quite get him just yet. 369 does pop out of the polymorph and keep himself alive. Again, look at the Ocean Soul just doing so much here. JackeyLove goes forward. JackeyLove might have found an opportunity. They can't quite get him though because the black shield is enough. The Nami's gone down, and now we can see the rest of the fight coming in. This is all on JackeyLove. He needs to be the carry. He needs to be the reason the Top Esports stay in this game. Hope is trying to stay on the backside of this one here. JackeyLove gets jumped on here by 369, who tries to take him out. He does still have a GA. He gets polymorphed, and he's going to be taken out. It's a 3v4. Never mind, it's a 4v2. And now JackeyLove gets even bigger in the literal sense, and JackeyLove pops off.
JackeyLove completely taking over the fight. Nothing Hope can do on the opposite side. Pings coming straight down onto the enemy base.
They can go for a look at the dead timers. They're huge. It's about a minute. But there are TPs available for JDG. They have no base left, so they have to leave Wayward in base to make sure no one TPs in and ends the game.
Looks like Top Esports gonna realize, hey, go for the safer play, look for the Elder. They actually still haven't broken down any of the structures in mid lane just yet. Looks like Knight finally gonna be able to go for that one. But so Top Esports gonna pick up an Elder when fights have been this close, this knife's edge. That Ocean Soul so far has been the difference maker. Now Top Esports gonna have some firepower of their own with this Elder.
What a base defense, but we cannot say that it didn't come at a price. You gotta look at the base in general. You have nothing. You have
There's
two
no
towers in bot side and an inhibitor in bot side. You will have your mid lane inhibitor in spawning in 30 seconds, so you do have that available to you. And we're now at the ultra late game. We can even see that JackeyLove sells off his GA because he got burnt in that last fight, and he goes and buys himself a Mercurial Scimitar straight off the bat. Same for Hope. They know they are the carries. They know that the difference between life and death in this game is going to be between which AD carry falls first.
And we can see how these fights are panning out. Oh, That is pretty ridiculous, but we said, right, Battle of the AD Carries, we knew JackeyLove would be able to put out more of this consistent DPS as the game went later. The problem for him, right, is we're seeing JDG kind of weave in and out of these fights and allowing some of that regen to be able to come through. It means that JackeyLove and TS also have to put out more damage. But we're at a point where these fights are kind of like Yagao, Kanavi, Hope, kind of throwing out this damage from a range, things like the culling, the Q from Yagao, the soil from Kanavi, to our top esports trying to find these all-in opportunities aside from JackeyLove, who is comfortable just hitting the Renekton because of how much damage he's able to get off on him and kind of finish off these members one by one, allowing for people like Knight, Tian, and Wayward to deal with the backline of JDG.
And I will say, I love this itemization coming out from 369. He's picked up an Anathema's chains right now to make sure it's like, look, I don't have to care about anybody else. I need to make sure that JackeyLove doesn't kill me. There's the Ultra Shock Laser coming off there to try and stop anyone from moving forward. The culling used defensively, but we're so late into the game now, Lyric, that it's just not really going to be a big thing. Yagao is on vision, and they know he's on vision, so they're going to be able to kind of reset Knight. You can see it right there. They're kind of just resetting their solo laners to make sure they don't lose the rest of the base.
Weaver's
the
wall.
TPs, the Weaver's Wall means they're able to go for this one, but Yagao has to back away. That's a good call from there, and Top Esports with the one word, catch out JDG on the backside.
If JDG could have been able to, you know, get in position to actually take that fight with Yagao making the Weaver's Wall, that would have been so huge. That would have been so big brain. 4v3, which, I mean, even then, potentially TES could take that fight, right? I mean, we can see JackeyLove. It's absolutely huge, but still, JDG wanting to use this pressure down in bot side. TS will be able to offset a lot of the pushing power that's been coming through from JDG, trying to force these skirmishes with the
Kanavi! Kanavi's been caught! Kanavi's dead! They had vision! He thought he was being clever, but he gets caught out right as the Elder Drake buff was spawning out, and that's again a 50-second death timer where you're 5v4.
Yeah, and you can see now TS managing to get their base under control, sending that three-man squad down mid to start taking down more turrets as well. We said, Ashin, doesn't matter if this is a 3-2 or 3-0, these are going to be close games, and it's been looking like that so far.
It's so tense right now. You're getting little by little Top Esports crawling themselves back into this game. Remember, it was an 8, if not 9,000 gold lead for JDG. It's now 2,000 gold leads. Gold in general means nothing. Even supports are starting to cap out on how much they have in their thing. We actually have Sorcerer shoes for missing right now. And a Void Staff.
I gotta say though, actually most people still aren't at full build, surprisingly enough. Only our two AD carries in 369 actually hitting that mark. Both
I would say
Yagao
missing,
and Knight
I would say
are
missing was on full build. I would say well, I'm going to come back to that point in a minute. We are going to see now 369 getting jumped on here by JackeyLove as Tian just popped the paranoia. He's not really going in on that, as we can see Knight trying to get caught out here by Hope, but the Ultra Shock Laser doesn't really hit anyone. They get the knock up. The flick back is good there onto Tian as Wayward does go golden on his stasis. The charm onto 369, and JackeyLove hunts him down. They're going to keep pushing forward. Wayward will fall, but Kanavi's already got the chains down. He flashes away to keep himself alive. They know this could be the final fight. JackeyLove has to use absolutely everything to keep himself up. If JackeyLove goes down there, you know JDG take the base.
Ashin, you could see at this point in the game, a lot of this damage looks like it's coming from Yagao in these fights. It looks like his Q is what chunked JackeyLove out so low. JackeyLove looks like he sold the Mercurial Scimitar once again, and we are back to having the GA in pocket. So we'll have that another lifeline unlocked. Both top laners down. It's so tense. There's like no macro play going on anymore. Again, most people are at least close to being capped out on items. Looks like Knight has finally been able to finish his. Yagao still sitting on half a component, but it's all just coming down to these fights and how these teams execute.
What an intense game right now. And JDG, remember, they're already 1-0 down. They need this win. There's not even a question in my mind where if they don't actually come out with this and they're 0-2, that's just so soul-crushing considering how Game 1 and now Game 2 have gone. We're coming up to a 50-minute epic right now, and it's Game 2. This could be the difference of us, evening up the series or going down to match point against Top Esports.
Like we said, Top Esports are one game away from winning Spring Split. JDG haven't made a final since 2020. Both teams intently staring off, calling, not going to connect.
Gonna connect, and with the Ocean Rift, you got plenty of honey fruit as well. Here we go. They're gonna pop the Paranoia to try and separate them out. We're gonna see now a Stasis coming in here for Kanavi. There's a good bubble there onto Wayward, but he's the super tank. Yagao is dead, and that is, again, one of the big components of your wave clear. But look at the pings. They want to try and go for the base, and that means the top esports have to respond because they have no towers.
And for top esports, I mean, they know they can win the fight, so they don't even want to gamble going for any type of a race anyways. Kanavi realizing he can't stop the backs. JDG now gonna have to back off. At least that bluff, that play should set them up to get out scot-free, but no, Tian's still here.
Tian is still here. He's on a bit of a flank. They don't quite have the ultimates just yet, but they're on such a low cooldown when you think about how powerful these ultimates are. You nearly have the Call of the Forge God. You nearly have Paranoia. You really want Spirit Rush here for Knight so we can reposition on fights. But with Elder Drake now live on the map, that's going to be the next objective here. And again, you don't have Yagao for 20 seconds, and he doesn't have a TP.
No, and top esports, though, going to just try and force this dragon. But I love the play from JDG. Recognizing they can't take the fight, they keep trying to call their bluff.
Nice, goes over, nearly goes down. There's going to be the Paranoia, jumps straight down on top of the AD carry. His Hope does go into stasis. You don't have the consistent DPS, and now JackeyLove can really start to wreak havoc onto this backside. They lose Kanavi, they lose 369. The GA from Tian's going to buy a little bit more time, and he flashes over the wall, and he survives. Top esports just refuse to lose.
JDG as well, though. The fact that neither team can find a dominant game-ending fight is absolutely crazy. And TS just want to take this damn Elder, but JDG are not allowing them. They continuously go for the same push down mid.
It's another fight. They got the Ultra Shock Laser. If that landed, it would have slowed them down. But Hope, without a GA, needs to be so careful. Knight gets not the charm. That is a rare miss from him. They do get the cleanse out of Hope as Scout. Or excuse me, Knight has to flash away. JackeyLove goes aggressive with the wild growth, and he is fearless. JackeyLove again with the pop-off performance. And I think that's it, Lyric. I think top esports have finally broken JDG's back.
The fact that JackeyLove is the engaged tool with the combination of the wild growth is absolutely insane coming out from TES. And you said it, they're just gonna go for the end.
They're gonna go for the end. You don't need Baron, you don't need Elder, you just need JackeyLove on a hyper carry. Top esports twice in a row put their faith in this 2018 World Championship winning AD carry, and twice in a row he has popped absolutely off.
And now it's up to 369 and Kanavi to try to hold on to things, but I just don't think they can do it. I think there's too much damage.
There's too much. Even with the Black Shield, you just can't really do a lot with it. They're even toying with them just a little bit longer. Wayward tanked for about 20 turret shots.
Use the emote.
Use the emote, Wayward. No, he can't do it just yet, Lyric, because it is still only 2-0 in this series. What a back and forth game number 2. And this is going to put top esports up to match point in this best of 5.
This was a phenomenal game, seeing both. Again, it was so tense. You can tell how seriously both teams are taking it. And just one more time, like we reiterated, like doesn't matter if it's 3-0, 3-2, like there's a close 3-0. So far, 2-0 up for TES. Both games incredibly close. Mojo definitely coming online. In this game, they had things like the Zeri that they could lean onto. They had the Ornn items come out. They still had to be hesitant because of the fact that JDG got that Ocean Soul. And you saw for JDG, they were like really good at using tools like the culling, like throwing out some of the rocks from Yagao and getting some of the damage down, backing off, letting themselves regen some of the damage that they've taken, and then just constantly poke in and prod and see if they can find the opportunities for that burst. But at a point, looked like TS just got so good at reading that they weren't overcommitting to any play, and they were waiting for those assurances. But my God, that JackeyLove engage, absolute madman. That was so crazy. That was so good.
I mean, I can't fathom just how much Chad energy do you need in a person to play like JackeyLove did to that last fight? Because we'll probably get a replay of it a little bit later after we come back from break. But because the game ended so quickly after it, he goes in. He did nearly 100,000 damage over that game. But he goes in knowing that Mark has the wild growth and uses the wild growth as CC. That is just an insane amount of confidence in your ability to know you're going to win the fight, because if he dies, top esports lose.
It was also a nice read because Hope was the big one extended. Like Hope and Missing were the ones running forward to kill Knight, if you remember. Hope had just blown his E, I believe his Gale Force and his Culling. So I think JackeyLove with a good read of like, hey, everything's down. He's now so far extended. Like Kanavi wasn't right there, 369 wasn't right there. It was just those two able to find that kill. We saw the gold graph as well. Tragic for JDG. I guess the quarterback like analogy was very on point this game for them. And it's been a sad tale for JDG because, right, 2 games in a row, at least in the mid game, there were points where they had significant advantages, but once again, not able to close. In TES, not only having like solid early games, game 1 obviously winning this game, they were like 2K gold behind when we expected JDG to be able to do more